Dust swirled like a devil's whisper across the parched earth of Blackthorn Ranch, where the sun beat down mercilessly on cracked fences and skeletal cattle. Jake Harlan stood at the edge of his failing empire, shotgun in hand, staring down a pack of rustlers creeping through the shadows of the canyon. One wrong move, and they'd gun him down like a dog. But what choice did he have? His herd was down to bones, water wells dry as graves, and the bank breathing down his neck for payments he couldn't make. "Come on, you bastards," he muttered, finger twitching on the trigger. That's when the first shot rang out, not from them, but from behind him. A bullet whizzed past his ear, dropping the lead rustler dead in the dirt. Jake spun, heart pounding, only to see a woman in a tattered dress, rifle smoking in her steady hands. Who the hell was she? Jake's mind raced as the remaining rustlers scattered like rats, firing wildly into the air. He dove for cover behind a boulder, expecting her to turn the gun on him next. But she didn't. Instead, she reloaded with lightning speed, her eyes cold as steel, picking off another outlaw before he could mount his horse. The survivors fled into the dust storm, leaving Jake alive but bewildered. He rose slowly, dust caking his beard, and approached her. "Lady, you just saved my hide, but I don't know you from Eve." Her name was Eliza Thorne, and she claimed to be his mail-order bride, the one he'd ridden for 6 months back when loneliness gnawed deeper than hunger. Jake had advertised in the eastern papers for a wife to share his burdens, but he'd half forgotten amid the ranch's collapse. Drought had hit hard that year, turning Blackthorn from a thriving spread into a ghost town of withered dreams. Creditors circled like vultures, and whispers in town said Jake's late father had buried a fortune somewhere on the land, gold from his mining days, that could save it all. But Jake had searched every inch, found nothing but dirt and despair. Now this woman shows up, guns blazing, with a carpetbag at her feet and secrets in her eyes. Eliza stepped forward, lowering the rifle, her voice steady but laced with an accent he couldn't place, maybe Boston, maybe something sharper. "You wired for a bride, Mr. Harlan," I answered, "but I didn't come empty-handed." She glanced at the fleeing rustlers' dust trail. "Those men weren't just thieves. They're after something more." Jake's brow furrowed. How did she know? He'd never mentioned the rumored gold in his letters. Suspicion coiled in his gut like a rattlesnake. Was she one of them? A spy sent to worm her way in? That night, under a sky pierced by stars like knife points, Jake led her to the ranch house, a weathered cabin with creaking floors and walls thin as promises. He lit a lantern, its flicker casting long shadows that danced like ghosts. Eliza unpacked her bag, revealing not frilly dresses or cooking pots, but a set of strange tools, vials of liquid, leather-bound books with symbols he didn't recognize, and a map of Blackthorn Ranch marked with X's in red ink. "What's all this?" he demanded, hand inching toward his holster. She smiled faintly, a curve that hid more than it revealed. "My secret skill, Jake. The one that will save your ranch. But first, you need to trust me." Trust. In the Wild West, trust was a luxury for fools. Jake had lost his brother to a backstabbing partner years ago, and the scar ran deep. Yet, as the wind howled outside, rattling the shutters like warnings, he listened. Eliza confessed she'd been more than a seamstress back east. She was a geologist, trained in secret by her father, a professor who'd mapped hidden aquifers and mineral veins. Women weren't allowed in such fields, so she'd hidden her knowledge, but when she saw Jake's ad describing the drought-stricken land, she knew she could help. "Your ranch isn't dying from bad luck," she said, unfolding the map. "It's sitting on an underground river. Divert it right, and you'll have water forever. But those rustlers, they're not after cattle, they're after the gold your father hid along the vein." Jake's blood ran cold. How could she know about the gold? He'd never breathed a word. "You're lying," he growled, grabbing her wrist. But her eyes held no fear, only fire. "Your letters mentioned the old mine shafts collapsing. I cross-referenced with geological surveys. The signs are there: shifted earth, sudden sinkholes. And those men, I overheard them in town before I arrived. They're hired guns for Silas Crow, the banker who's foreclosing on you. He wants the gold for himself." The revelation hit like a thunderclap. Silas Crow, the slick-suited viper who'd lent Jake money at usurious rates, knowing the drought would break him. Jake released her wrist, staggering back. If she was right, Crow had orchestrated everything: the rustled cattle to weaken him, the whispers to distract from the real prize. But why confide in a stranger? Eliza's face softened, but only a fraction. "Because I'm not just here for marriage, Jake. My father was ruined by men like Crow. I came to fight back. Dawn broke bloody over the horizon, and with it, urgency. Eliza insisted they act fast. Crow would send more men once the rustlers reported back. She led Jake to a spot on the map, a forgotten corner of the ranch where sagebrush hid an old mine entrance, collapsed years ago. As they rode out on horseback, dust devils twisting around them, Jake's mind whirled with doubt. What if this was a trap? What if she was Crow's plant, leading him to his doom? They dismounted at the sight, the air thick with tension. Eliza pulled out her tools, a divining rod modified with copper wires, vials of acid to test soil. Watch, she whispered, as if the earth itself might betray them. She drove the rod into the ground, and it quivered, pointing north. Digging frantically with shovels, they uncovered a seam of rock that gleamed unnaturally. Eliza poured acid on it, and it fizzed, revealing flecks of gold. The vein, she breathed. But then, a low rumble echoed from below, like the groan of a waking beast. The ground shook violently, a sinkhole opening beneath their feet. Jake grabbed Eliza, pulling her back as dirt cascaded into the void. Heart hammering, he peered down, not just a hole, but a cavern glittering with water, an underground spring, just as she'd said. But amid the sparkle, something else, a chest, half buried in mud, its lock rusted but intact. His father's gold. Exhilaration surged, but it shattered when gunfire erupted from the ridge above. Crow's men, 6 of them, rifles trained. Hand it over, Harlan. Crow himself shouted, stepping into view, his fine coat billowing. Your bride led us right to it. Smart girl, ain't she? Jake's world tilted. Betrayed, he turned to Eliza, fury blazing. But she shook her head fiercely, whispering, no. I knew they'd follow. Trust me now. In a blur, she yanked a hidden derringer from her boot, firing at the closest gunman. Chaos exploded. Jake dove for cover, returning fire, bullets ricocheting off rocks. One grazed his arm, blood soaking his shirt, but he fought on. Eliza moved like a shadow, using the terrain, rolling behind boulders, picking off assailants with precision that shocked him. How? He yelled amid the din. Secret skill number 2, she called back, reloading. My father taught me more than rocks. He was a Union spy during the war. I learned to shoot before I learned to sew. A shocking twist. His mail-order bride, a crack shot and geologist. Another outlaw fell, clutching his chest. Crow, panicking, charged down the slope, but Eliza anticipated, tripping a wire she'd set earlier with her tools. A makeshift trap sprang, rocks tumbling in a controlled avalanche, burying 2 more men. Jake took down the last one, his shotgun booming like judgment. Crow lay pinned under debris, groaning. You witch, he spat at Eliza. She knelt, unfazed, tying his hands. Call it justice. Your schemes end here. As sheriff's deputies, summoned by a note Eliza had left in town, arrived to haul Crow away, Jake stared at her in awe. The ranch was saved. Water flowing from the diverted spring, gold to pay debts and rebuild. But the biggest shock came that evening, as they sat by the fire, wounds bandaged. Eliza confessed the full truth. I didn't just answer your ad by chance. Your father, he was my uncle. He wrote to my family about the gold before he died, begging us to protect it from men like Crow. I came to honor that, and maybe find something more. Jake's heart skipped. Family, a hidden connection binding them tighter than any vow. As rain finally fell, blessed, life-giving rain drawn by the new aquifer, the ranch revived overnight. Cattle drank deeply, grass sprouted green. Jake took Eliza's hand, the weight of solitude lifting. Marry me for real? He asked. She smiled, secrets spent. I already did, in my heart. But in the distance, thunder rolled, a reminder that in the west, peace was fleeting, and new storms always brewed.